gimmicks. Yeah. No gimmicks, taking over, no limits. Motivation, the truth inside everything you are hearing. Important live, know you feel it. Wrestling is everything that we will know with special meaning. We on it live with no gimmicks. No gimmicks.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Todd Smith here once again, flying solo this week on yet another episode of the No Gimmicks Podcast. Joining me this week, my mentor, former professional wrestler, radio show host, also the CEO of Real Marts. Give it up for my man, James Shadoweman Boone. Shadow, it's a pleasure to have you on the No Gimmicks Podcast. What's good, my brother?
Dr. Todd, how are you, man? Thank you for having me on, brother. It's a pleasure being here,
doctor,
man.
What's all this doctor business? When did I become a doctor?
Well, you're the doctor of no gimmicks.
Okay, I'll take it, man.
You want to be that? You can be that, brother.
Yes, sir. Hey, so let's go ahead and start this off here, man, from the very beginning. So you were trained by Armando Guerrero of the Guerrero family. So tell us and our viewers a little bit about your experience in the training which you received from him.
Take it all the way back. I got a video actually that I just need to take the time out to to post. But going back to, let's say, 1987, 89, you want to go further back, go to the 1980s when I was watching world-class championship wrestling and what's his name? Not the Crockett promotion, but watching wrestling in Texas and then being a big fan of the Guerreros and then coming to Los Angeles and meeting Mondo Guerrero at a wrestling conference. And I thought it would be an opportunity for me to just step up and say, hey, sir, I'm a big fan of you, your family, the legacy that you have. I would love to become a professional wrestler. So when I went up to him and I said that, he said, that's great, kid. And then he walked away. So I, with my head down, I started to walk towards my car. And a few minutes later, Mondo came up to me and said, hey, man, sorry, I was busy. Look, if you want to be a wrestler and you want to get into this business, I'll give you an opportunity. So meet me at this address on Saturday morning. So Saturday morning, I got up and I went down to East LA to a old mechanics garage, and that's where the ring was. So myself and the Larry Piccone and I forgot the other guy's name, but we were the guys training there. We trained with Mondo and learned the craft, learned the business, started wrestling and working independents here locally in California. And it was a great experience, man. And I'll tell you this much. Mondo rolled the heck out of me, man. I was the guy taking the bumps. I was the guy testing bumps. I was the guy trying new moves before the other guys did, because these guys were 6'3", 6'4", 250 pounds of muscle. They could pick me up, throw me around. I was bouncing all over the ring. So I became a great bumper. And since they were testing new moves on me, I learned how to create and develop new ideas in the ring back in the 80s. So transition from a wrestling independent and learning how to wrestle from Mondo, I moved into doing other independents, working with other independent wrestlers and wrestling groups. I connected with Bill Anderson and Jesse Hernandez with the Wrestling School of Hard Knocks.
Okay.
And when I connected with these guys, there were more shows and other things going on. So I started working with them and still working with Mondo and working with other promoters. And it just kind of expanded into other opportunities, from wrestling here to Laughlin to Vegas and all over the Western region. So it was a great experience, a great ride, man. And through Bill and Jesse Hernandez and the Wrestling School of Hard Knocks is well known from training the likes of the Ultimate Warrior,
right,
Sting, and Louis Piccoli, Frank Kazarian, who is still wrestling today. He used to wrestle for TNA and WWE. Chris Daniels did a stint there. There's a couple of other guys. As a matter of fact, right now, there's a cat doing a documentary on the Wrestling School of Hard Knocks with Jesse Hernandez. So, the legacy continues all over the place. Guys that are building business and growing in the business are still growing and learning how to become a wrestler.
Good stuff. I remember you used to promote the hell out of that school on your show, Squared Circle, man. That's how I became familiar with the wrestling school, Hard Knocks. I had even entertained the idea of trying to attend that school myself, but my parents, they just were against it, man.
You're making me feel old, man, because that was a long time ago.
Yeah, brother, it was. That was about 20-some years ago. Hey,
but it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yes, sir. Hey, so you were talking a lot about how, the other guys were kind of practicing their moves on you. You were the one getting bumped around and whatnot. Tell me this. Once you, became a little bit further in your training, what were some of your signature moves which you used in the ring?
There's no record of it, but I'll tell it to you in a story.
Okay.
There are guys like Louis Spicoli and what's his name? Somebody named Stephen DeLeon and a few other guys that wrestled with the wrestling school of Hard Knocks. Bill and Jesse had a contract or were the bookers locally here for Los Angeles. So you say back in the early 90s, WWF used to hire guys locally to be jobbers, what we call jobbers at the time. Mm-hmm. And so they would come on TV and wrestle the big name stars. The introduction of being a part of that and being on national TV on a weekly basis, I wasn't interested in, but some of the guys were. So we worked shows and we worked local shows in arenas and things of that nature. And there was moves that I kind of perfected and put out there. And one of the things about wrestling is that guys see a move and they steal it.
Yep.
And the first person that does it on television is the guy that created it.
Exactly.
If you remember the movie Beyond the Mat,
yes, I do.
You'll see that move that guy did, and then you saw the guys backstage react, and they said, "Oh, I'm stealing that." So take you back all the way to the 90s, or the late 89, 90, whatever it was. There was Louis worked with Coco Beware, and I think Stefan and some of the other guys that worked a TV show. And I had a move which was basically a suplex. And with the suplex, instead of going back, you would go down. And which Coco Beware ended up using it as his finisher. And I believe Arn Anderson called it the Brain Buster. So if you want to know who created that move or who basically originated that move, it was me.
The Ghostbuster, in other words, right?
Yeah, the Brain Buster, Ghostbuster, Coco Beware called it something like that. Basically, it's the Shadow Buster.
Ain't that something?
And it is just very simple. It's a suplex, but with the suplex, the guy comes down more on their shoulders than straight backwards. So it looks like that they're landing on their head like a brain buster.
Right.
And it looks freaking awesome if you can do it right and you protect the guy right and they won't break their neck. So that was one. And one of the other things that I was the first to start working the ropes. The thing that Rey Mysterio and Chris Jericho, those guys did that became very popular was jumping off of the second rope.
The middle rope.
Yeah, second middle rope. I used to do a back elbow or the second rope. This was back in the 80s. First time I did it at a live show was at the sports bar called Rock Around the Clock in San Bernardino. But it was just simple, You have to have the precision and focus to be able to run at full blast off the ropes and jump, land both feet on the second rope, and spring yourself backwards. Now, some of the other guys have perfected that and all that other kind of stuff. And I'm talking about without grabbing the top rope. A lot of guys do that now because a lot of guys ended up on the floor when attempting that. But yeah, that's one of the two things that, I consider my marquee things and stuff.
Wow. Well, hey, that's been a long step into the business, man. Because I was watching probably just about a week or so ago, and Marty Scurll is now using that same move which you just described. The Brain Buster is kind of almost like the last shot move that Adam Cole used when he was in ROH, but they are referring to it as the Ghostbuster. So Shadow, you should be looking out for that royalty check anytime now. Yeah,
I wish there were royalties for moves and you could moves and stuff. Nowadays, though, if you look at wrestling, you look at some of the guys with their marquee finishing moves, like the spear. How many guys use it, and then once one guy takes control over it and they're a bigger star, no one else can do it. like Rhino has the gore, and they still allow him to do it, but that's pretty much Roman Reigns' move or one of his marquee moves and stuff. So it is what it is. John Cena stole his move from, God, I can't remember who, but that was one of the other moves that was laid out and people took it and homaged it or what have you. Just like Randy Orton and the Diamond Cutter.
Right.
The move and stuff. So, you know, it is what it is. In this business now, no one's move is patent or copywritten.
Nobody's safe. And me and you know this, man, where they got that from. They got that from Johnny Ace with the Ace Crusher.
There you go.
That's where that came from.
Hernandez's Spine Busters used, Triple H did, and now who's the other guy that uses it? Bobby Roode uses it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it depends who it is,
right,
and who does it right. That's all that matters. Do it right, do it better, make it better, make it look better.
Yeah. Hey, so what would you say would have been your least favorite and your favorite wrestling promotions to work for?
Man, I can't even remember half the guys I worked for, man. BWF, working with Buffalo was an exciting time. Back doing the radio show, Squared Circle, working with Buffalo Jim was exciting because we would go to the Imperial Palace. I don't even know if that hotel still exists.
I'm not sure either. I stayed there when I was a teenager, probably back in like the mid-90s or so.
Yeah, we would do CRN, the cable radio had broadcasting at the Imperial Palace, and Buffalo Jim brought man, we were supposed to just do a live broadcast, and he ended up bringing like about 200-300 people there, and it was crazy. This was back when we were doing promotions with WCW, Zane Breslov, and a lot of the other guys in the business. And we ran promotions. We did a lot of cool things. And I think working with Buffalo was the exciting part because we broadcast live from there and things of that nature. But working with the Wrestling School of Hard Knocks and Empire Wrestling was cool. My last wrestling match was a battle royal with Wrestling School, the Empire Wrestling Federation, which is part of Jesse Hernandez's Wrestling School of Hard Knocks. So I would have to say, yeah, man, you know, I work with, I'm trying to remember this dude's name, somebody Martin in Vegas, and we used to do the Orleans before Buffalo had the Orleans. But we did the Orleans a bunch of times. I think it was like twice a month. So local TV, all that kind of stuff. So cool. Yeah, I guess Buffalo would have to be it in Empire.
Hey, so through the wonders of Google, I was able to do a little research real quick. Yes, the Imperial Palace Hotel is still open out there in Vegas.
Yeah, that's cool. Imperial was cool because we were doing just a basic live remote broadcast. And man, when we came in there, we shut it down because it was like we had to be moved to a bigger hall. And people were freaking out. There was like hundreds of people showing up just to be a part of and witness the show, man. I don't even think we did that broadcast. We had to end up airing something else because it was just too many people. So that was cool.
That is good stuff, man. Whenever you have too many people show up to a show, that's a problem you actually kind of almost want to have. Hey, so would you say what should you enjoy more, working as a face or as a heel?
I was always a face. I was never a heel. I never look, my wrestling career was not like the most extravagant career. Learning from Mondo, working with the Wrestling School of Hard Knocks, and being a part of business, that was cool. That was great. That was a dream fulfilled. And respecting the business, understanding the business. I just wasn't one of those guys when back in those days it was, hey, kid, you look good. You got moves. You look great in the ring. You're a great storyteller, but you need to juice up. And I just wasn't one of those guys, man. You know, I had opportunities. I had great opportunities presented before me as an African-American in the early 90s wrestling when there was not yet a black world champion.
Right.
And being a guy in the West Coast that was pretty popular, and working with 6'4", 6'8", big muscle bound guys, and then the rest of the guys were good workers, but not as big as me. So the opportunities were there, but I just wasn't willing to go that far extent to like gas up and go from 205 pounds to 230 pounds of freaking steroids. So that just wasn't my thing, man. So, but the highlight of it was transitioning from wrestling to radio. When 95 rolled around, I was like, well, you know what? I was gonna make it. I would have made it, and I'm not gonna keep pursuing it this way. And I still want to be a part of the business. So locally, I reached out to a radio network, KIEV. They put me on the air after the legendary George Putnam, and started my broadcast.
Okay.
And then, cable radio heard me. Mike Horn said, hey, we got a guy named Dynamite D that does the show. Can you fill in for him? And then they said, hey, can you take over an hour? And then he said, hey, you know what? We want to just go ahead and just give you the time slots. So, Dynamite D was Dynamite D. He did his thing, and he was cool. But I think he did it in reverse. Dynamite D was a guy on the cable radio. He was an engineer. He did a show because he loved wrestling. And then eventually Dynamite D went on to become a professional wrestler. God rest his soul. Dynamite D was a nice guy. Shadow was a guy that was a wrestler coming to radio. So I think I had a better understanding of the business, and I understood the lines between telling it like it is, keeping the truth, and also kayfabe at the time. Because when the show was on, kayfabe was a rule, and a rule I never broke. And so the show still was successful, and I think that's my claim to fame, is the squared circle, talking pro wrestling.
Yes, sir. I have to agree with that. So one question for you. How'd you come up with the name Shadoweman?
It was Mondo. It was partly Mondo because I was into the martial arts, and I grew up in martial arts, and I was big in martial arts. So I kind of married wrestling and martial arts in my ring performance. And Mondo, and then matter of fact, I think my gear was like ninja stuff. And so Mondo said, hey, you should be a black ninja. And I said, that's kind of racist, dude. I said, I don't want to be no black ninja. He's like,
you like, I like this ninja. Not that other M word.
Ninja. Yeah, no, ninja. Okay. And I said, well, that's kind of, stereotypical, like if you look at me and I'm wearing ninja gear, and because I'm black, I'm going to be the black ninja. He said, well, you're like this mysterious ninja shadow thing. I said, yeah, shadow. And then I was very religious. So Shadoweman. So Shadow, a lot of people do remember or don't remember, was Shadow is Shadow of the Eternal, which is God. So basically that's where Shadoweman came from. So it's spelled with an E. SHADOWE, eternal, and man. So Shadoweman.
Okay.
There you go. There's the name.
So now
there's a gimmick. It's copywritten.
Hey, so Shadow, speaking of your martial arts background, you kind of carried that over into a pay-per-view series that lasted for a short while, I think back in like 95 or so. Tell us a little bit about Fight Zone and how you involved it.
Fight Zone. Back in the 80s and early 90s, everything happened in like the early 90s, man, before like 95. Like 92, 93, 92 somewhere. I was doing a lot of extra work. Bondo got me on. There was a TV show called Hard Times on Planet Earth. I did Power Rangers, Masked Rider, and all those different shows. So all those Ranger shows, those ninja, Japanese anime, manga shows. And if you go back and look at the archives, you'll see, hey, there's Shadow running across the hallway at the high school while the monsters tearing up the building. So I did a lot of extra work back then. And during that time or whatever stuff, this producer came along and he was putting together, he had some money, and he thought that he could create something that would mix martial arts, wrestling, and MMA before MMA was really MMA.
Right.
And so Fight Zone came along, and I think we had the audition. So it was my buddy Larry Piccone, who was the bounty hunter. And Larry was like 6'4", 250 pounds. So we were working partners. So we came in and we were there for 15 hours. And the first 8 hours was karate. And they start all these scenes, all these characters, karate. And so when it came to me and Larry, and these guys were doing cut, all right, put some blood on him because he just kicked him in his head. Okay, he karate chopped him right here. And it was like all these long fight scenes. And I was like, dude, let's not do this. Let's just do a couple of moves. So I called the spots. I said, look, I'm going to give you a couple of chops. I'm going to give you a roundhouse kick. And then you're going to grab me. You're going to choke slam me. Pick me up. And then you're going to flip me into I think it was a suplex or something. And then once you put me in a suplex, I'm going to stagger up and then you power bomb me. Done. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, cool. So and it was just a mat. It wasn't a ring. It was just a mat, a karate
like a judo mat.
And man, we went in there, and this, mind you, that there were like about, I say 2,000 extras in the audience. Mm-hmm. And everybody was bored with the karate. So we came out there, we did a 2-minute match, and these people, which were all extras, were wild. Because I took the bumps. I took every bump. It was not like, cut, all right, wait 1 second. Wait, okay, what are you getting ready to do? Okay, just land them softly, and then, no. I just said, let's just go for it. And we went out there, and we went for it. The power bomb was the most brutal thing I've ever, not the most brutal, but one of the most brutal moves I ever taken when he did that. Because Larry again was 6'4", 200-something pounds, and this dude was no joke. He didn't know his own strength, but it was cool. And the only thing that they did was they reshot the last scene, the ending scene, was when he kicked me in the head, and it was a receipt because during the spots, it was a stagnation pause, and I guess Larry forgot the spot where he was supposed to suplex me or something. So I threw him a roundhouse, and it connected. And so he was like, "Okay, you effer." And then after he powerbombed me, he kicked me in the forehead, and I got a nice little gash right here in the side of my head. And so then they cut. And they says, "Okay, we'll do that again." And then they put blood around the real blood that was already there. I was like, "Okay, cool." And then that was pretty much it. I did my little interview thing and whatever and stuff, but that was my only appearance on Fight Zone. But it was all the work.
I watched it right before we began this interview. It looked like a live version of video game Mortal Kombat. I'm telling you.
Hey, if you ever find my match, send me the link because I've been looking for that.
YouTube, my man. YouTube. That's where it's at.
You found my match?
I didn't see your match. What I did was I just wanted to get a general idea of what it was like, and who was in it and whatnot. So I just kind of scrolled through. I tried to find you in the one I found. But, yeah, if I do stumble across it, I will definitely send it to you, Shadowe.
I think I got a copy on a video cassette. Mm-hmm. But I can't find a studio that will actually transition a cassette to a hard drive.
Oh, that could be done easily nowadays, man. They can put down Blu-ray for you. No problem.
Video cassette. This kid.
VHS or Beta? Which one was it? Okay. That's old school, brother. Hey, so what would you say was your favorite and least favorite interview that you had as being part of Squared Circle, the talk on professional wrestling?
Probably the most learning curve I had was at the very beginning, my first year in. We were doing promotion with WCW, and things were starting to kick off. So they said, "Hey, Shadowe, you want to come down and interview Hulk Hogan at the what's that record store on Sunset? Tower Records. Tower Records. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So back then I was still wrestling, and I thought I was a full gimmick. There was no, there was like I was coming as a Shadow, and I had half my wrestling gear on. And I walked up to Tower Records. There was a nice line and so forth. I had my recorder, and finally the promoter guy came and says, "Okay, you can interview Hogan." And then I walked up to Hogan, and he was like, "Who are you supposed to be, brother?" And I looked at myself with my gear on and my jeans and stuff, and I said, okay, you know what? I think moving forward, I should probably never wear like wrestling apparel like I am a wrestler and getting ready to wrestle Hulk Hogan. I just pretty much transitioned the Shadow into James the Shadow. So I went from being Shadoweman to just Shadow and just like cut all the other stuff. And I started to be myself. So the interview went great. Hogan was cool. It was just, I'll never forget, what are you supposed to be, brother? And that was enough. You know, it was like, okay, you know what? I think I'm starting to feel really stupid right now, you know? So and that's when we went to printing and producing the top wrestling shirts. So then moving forward, I wore the top wrestling shirts and I was good. And that worked. Right. So as far as interviews, it wasn't a bad interview. It was just an experience. It was a learning curve. But one of my best interviews was, of course, Diamond Dallas Page. One of my greatest experience was Bret Hart. When we did Wrestling with Shadows, and we presented it with Bret Hart. Well, I say we, but I was able to present and introduce Bret Hart at the Hollywood Museum when we did a private screening of his movie. And that was probably one of the coolest moments I ever had and the greatest experience. I wish it was taped, you know, standing on stage with Bret and introducing Bret and then the movie and everything. So that was cool. Probably one of my worst interviews was, man, I can't even remember. You know, I got some. I probably went on to our funny reel, the bad interview stuff that we had. But you know, most of all, they were mostly pretty good.
Okay, well that's good. Good memories.
If there were bad interviews, they never made it on the air because they were horrible. I know there was like one or two, and I was just like, F this, I'm not putting this on the air. This guy sucks.
Oh, you know what I mean? I know that feeling.
The interview went like about less than 10 minutes, and I was like, dude, you really suck, and you're not good at promotion. They should never use you again. And it was during the WWE was sending us guys and stuff. I think we did a Chris Benoit, but I can't find it, man. But I don't even remember if we aired it.
Really?
We had to have aired it. I just don't remember.
Okay. Wow.
But he didn't suck. I was just saying that some interviews were good and some interviews just never made it to the air.
Yeah. I hear you, man. Hey, so who were your favorite people that you look forward to calling into the show on a weekly basis, and some of the least favorite who you didn't want to have to deal with?
Well, we had Crazy Roy, which was the boy. Crazy Roy hawking his videos, and I still have his VHSs in my garage. Crazy Roy was cool. Dana from Medford, Oregon. WrestleTainment. Remember WrestleTainment, Ray?
I don't remember that one. No.
Oh, Shadow, this is WrestleTainment, Ray. Calling it. You don't remember WrestleTainment called it every week, man. I think he was in a wheelchair or something, but it was always good to hear from him.
Okay.
Bad Calls, I can't remember. That ended up on the gag reel. I was just listening to the gag reel a few weeks ago. Gonna have to post that because there was some very funny moments, man. Okay. Shoot shot, step up.
Yes.
Run the gauntlet.
I remember.
Run the gauntlet, step up. Hi, this is John from Shadow. When is okay? Hello, next caller, step up. You know.
Hey.
I think probably one of the moments that I didn't like, but I did find funny afterwards, was the Baba Booey calls and the Howard Stern calls.
From Howard Stern, right?
Yeah. And people don't know, or people may not know, is that our ratings were right neck and neck with Howard Stern when he was on the E! Channel.
That is amazing.
When we were broadcasting live on Friday from 9 to 11 Pacific time, our ratings were, because we were on cable TV, we had Nielsen ratings, and our ratings were as high as or close to the same as Howard Stern.
Wow.
And that's where we got the Baba Booey calls and all of that.
So with that being said, How in the hell or why did you go in?
I needed to go further, and I had people. I wasn't surrounded with the right types to take the show where it needed to go.
Oh, that's a shame, man.
That's all I can say about that. But it's all good, man. You know, it was a great journey, and it was a lot of fun. And you know, people got inspired. Probably one of the more highlighted moments was when we pushed and drove the WrestleMania when it was Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, the first one, and it was, I think, Triple H and Stone Cold. I don't know. It was like three matches that we pushed, and they got it. And I think the push for Benoit to be world champion, the push for Eddie Guerrero to be world champion, the push for certain guys to get put over, the push for Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam was always one of my greats because he's a good friend of mine. So,
okay.
And he was probably the three people that supported the show for pretty much the whole duration was Louis Spicoli.
Yep.
Who, whenever he was in town from WCW or whatever, he always come down to the studio, and Rob Van Dam, and Diamond Dallas Page.
Those are three good ones, man.
Oh, and then Terry Funk was great too because he was on, and he would not stop talking.
Hey, did Louis host the show for you at one point in time?
Yes,
that's what I thought.
Yes, yeah. I think it was. I was doing a tour or something like that. When I was doing theater. Okay. And matter of fact, me and my buddy who's sitting next to me right now, we went on tour and I took off and I got Louis to fill in for me. And so I think it was him and the webmaster Eric and Iceman Chris, and they ran the show while I was gone.
Cool, man. Hey, so when it was all said and done, how many years was Squared Circle on the air for, Shadow?
Squared Circle itself was on for about 7 years. And then the Real Mark show was on for about 2 years, 2 years. We're on the air total about 9.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Long time, man.
Yeah, because I used to call in mostly when I was in high school. That's when I used to watch it when I was living back in California. Because by the time I moved to Nevada, I wasn't able to find a way to access it. So like I would check it out when I would come home, you know, like to visit on the weekends and stuff like that. But yeah. Here's something I've been wanting to do. Squared Circle, where are you now? So now, one of the names you already mentioned, where is Crazy Roy these days, man? What's he up to?
Actually talked to Crazy Roy a few months ago, and he's up north in Northern California still, doing his thing. So he's doing well.
Bob Cook.
I am friends with Bob Cook on Facebook, and he's still going on his Oh, wait a minute. I got to give props to Bob Cook because he was another great caller. Mm-hmm. And he was, to me, Bob Cook is a legend, and he should go in some type of Hall of Fame because he was the number one or the best jobber in the business. And use the category and title of jobber, but this guy had some of the greatest matches with some of the guys and some of the young up-and-coming guys he made look good in the ring. But yeah, Bob Cook is on Facebook, man. Look him up.
Okay. I most definitely will. One of your least probably favorite callers, Rob from Redondo Beach.
Rob from Redondo Beach. Man, I don't even barely remember him. He's a cleft note. Not even cleft note. What do you call those little things? Yeah.
A sticky note.
Yeah, he's a sticky pad that, you know, but who's that dude, Dave, that used to call in and hate on the show, man, and wrote stuff online all the time, and was putting negative posts on me because he was in love with Mike Leno.
Oh, Dr. Mike Leno.
No, not Mike Leno, but there was a dude, Dave something, and he tried to like really bash the show all the time. He just called it the bash the show. I don't remember the dude's name, but anyway, yeah, I hated him.
Yeah, I remember you used to always talk about that dude. You'd be like, the dude Rob from Redondo Beach calling up on my show, acting like a little kid. I remember like you had the Shadow line, and I would call just to hear your rants on that dude, man. You would crack me up. Hey, so he was trolling you, man, back 20-some years ago. See, he was on to something. That's when they called it flaming, right? Isn't that what it was called?
I guess.
Now it's called trolling, like when you're doing that to somebody, when you're talking, garbage about them online and all that stuff. Hey, so another one, this was a tag team, I want to say, from SoCal who used to call in the Neighborhoods.
The Neighborhoods, yeah. Those guys were great, man. They worked, I think they worked with Jesse or something like that, and the Hard Knocks or something. But I think I did meet those guys in person.
Okay.
Good guys. Yeah.
Cool. So now this is something, a really cool event that a lot of people were not aware of, and I'm quite sure you played a huge part in the organizing of this, the World Wrestling Peace Festival. This was something that brought together guys from like WCW, some of the companies from Mexico and Japan, and it's something that more people should know about. Take this time, Shadow, to tell everyone how you helped put that show together and what it was all about at the time.
All right. I'm going to give you the short version of it. It's a long story. Sukagachi, I think his name was Sukagachi or something to that effect. Someone gave me a call, and it might have been Jesse Hernandez, and he asked me to meet this guy. And so I met him, and he worked for the Ambassador Center or something like that. And he said, well, what do you think of doing a wrestling show here in LA with the delegates from Japan? And I said, man, that'd be great, man. Wrestling, Japan wrestling, Japanese wrestling, and American wrestling, and a big show would be great. So he said, well, can you share with the delegates? And I said, okay, cool. Who are the delegates? Antonio Inoki and a senator or something, or governor, or it was about 5 or 6 political officials in Japan. They were going to fly into LA, and I'm supposed to pitch to them why they should do a World Wrestling Peace Festival. What no one knows about is that this show wasn't going to take place. It wasn't going to happen. It was just, why come to LA and do this? So I did my research, and I pulled up some sheets and specs and data, and then I basically did a shoot shot in less than 5 minutes in my presentation to them. I laid out and made it clear that Inoki with Muhammad Ali, and moments with Inoki and Hulk Hogan, and then the platform now working with Dan Severn, and working with WCW, working with AAA Wrestling, and then hopefully WWE. It would be awesome to put on one big, great show, and the numbers and the stats would prove it, and that it could be very successful.
Right.
So after I did my pitch and my presentation, and I think we met at LAX because they were flying in and flying back. So I did my pitch at a terminal, and this is with an interpreter. So, and Inoki understood some English, so he was grasping a lot of it. So after that, we came in. I came into the next day. He says, they said, yes, we're going to do it. So the Peace Festival was greenlit to go. And then I think that Monday or something, I came in and I walked into the office, and there was this guy sitting at the desk. And I said, well, isn't that going to be my desk? Aren't I going to be help putting the show together? And it was Bob Cartago, who's a good friend of mine. So they basically gave the show, or put Bob at the helm, and Bob helped put together. And so Bob and I went back and forth about the card, who should be on, and what wrestlers should be added to it. We did interviews, and the radio show put it out there. And I thought it was a great platform and a great opportunity for guys like Rey Mysterio, Conan, Benoit, Jericho, Eddie. A lot of guys this was like their audition for WCW. And Bischoff was there, and he signed those guys up, and those guys went on to be great, big, huge stars. So the Peace Festival was like the bridge that connected a lot of these wrestlers to their careers and built their careers from that thing. So yeah, man, it is what it is. But I got some of the programs still in my garage, sitting in a box somewhere.
Wow.
World Wrestling Peace Festival. But yeah, I ended up doing the program. That's the plus. I did the program. Okay. That's great.
Yeah, because some of those clips just appeared online recently. Were you the one who posted some of those up?
Nah, man, I don't post stuff like that. But,
okay.
Somebody had the tape, or somebody was there live, and I saw some of the posts, which was cool. Mm-hmm. It was cool experiencing it, seeing it, and being involved in it. meeting Eric Bischoff and meeting a lot of the other guys, and for some instances, you got Jody Hamilton, you got Zane Breslov. These guys were very influential in pushing for these guys to work together, and Bischoff was open to working with AAA wrestling and a lot of these other independents to discover new stars and give them opportunities. So it was good.
Wow, man, that's just so big. Like I said, it's just a shame that that actual event did not get the recognition that deserving, that you didn't get the credit that you deserve for making it happen.
Well, I just thought that the only problem was that Bob was great with helping to put the show together, but promotional wise, there were ideas that I had and they just didn't want to go. And I thought that there could have been other things done to make it a successful show. And even the commercial that they ran was boo-boo, to be honest with you. That's just saying this, that Bob Cortega was the promo guy for WWE. He's the guy who, and here's a story that a lot of people don't know. I think he put it in his book, or it's going to be in his book. He's the guy who gave The Rock the idea of, finally, The Rock has come back to.
Wow.
Back then, they would cut the promos backstage for promotions in the different cities. So The Rock would do his interview and he would say this and that. And then Bob said, well, Rock, why don't you do this? Say, finally, The Rock's coming back to LA. Finally, The Rock's coming back to Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, The Rock's coming back to Chicago. And then he incorporated that in all his stuff. So that was a huge, huge transition into like this guy's whole gimmick and cutting promos and things of that nature. And Bob Cortega was the guy that gave him that idea, man.
Wow. That is something, man. Hey, so got a couple questions for you from social media. These guys are from Facebook. So first off, Sean Williams from Facebook asks, what are your current thoughts on the rise of New Japan Pro Wrestling, like how, it became popular amongst the American fans and whatnot?
I think what they're doing now, I just recently watched some of the show, and from what I didn't even know, that guy is Brian Pillman's son. What's his name?
Who?
Man, the Omega guy.
No, he's not Pillman's son, is he?
That's what I was told. He's Brian Pillman's son. And this guy looks great. And I think that the Jim Ross there doing commentary, I think the show is awesome. I think people finally get an opportunity to see the platform of what they call stiff wrestling, or what they used to go with it in the theme of hardcore wrestling. Caught that whole gimmick of what ECW was, but hardcore wrestling was really stiff wrestling. Guys getting in the ring and just going at it. Yeah. Guys like not holding back, but like you getting forearms, elbows, chops, and they're all stiff. But everyone's still working in sync to protect each other. So New Japan is great. I think New Japan has an opportunity to really maybe become that next thing here in the United States. So if they continue to do what they do and continue to build right and make wrestling the focal point, then I think they'll do a good job.
Yeah. First big step, man, was them creating that U.S. title. And actually doing like the G1 special over there in the U.S. I think out there in SoCal, matter of fact, about a year ago. Yep. So some huge steps have been made, because there was someone who went to the most recent Wrestle Kingdom 12, and said that the majority of the fans that they actually ran across over there were Gaijins. Folks from America who came over, folks from other countries who would come to that show. So it just goes to show how it's spreading, amongst the world. So Sean had one more question for you, Shadow. He wanted your take on why you feel that Roman Reigns is not getting over as a babyface in the WWE.
Why I feel? How does he know I feel that way? But I'll say this: Roman Reigns is simply an enigma, just like John Cena. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to The Rock. They force-fed us The Rock back when he was Rocky Maivia. Back when he wore the Samoan outfits and the aqua blue or turquoise colors, and He did the Samoan dance and everything else like that. They force-fed him as a babyface. And then eventually something broke where The Rock became Rocky. Rocky Maivia became Rocky. And then Rocky became The Rock. Mm-hmm. And with Roman Reigns, he still wears the vest. He wears the khaki pants. And they force-feed us him when the fans have yet to really accept him. And he has a lineage. He's a generation wrestler. The only thing they need to do with Roman is continue to let him become himself.
Yes.
Whoever he is, whatever he is, let him be him. Stop giving him stupid scripts with stupid jokes and gags and so forth and so on. Let him come out there, and if he's cocky and arrogant, let him be that. He's not The Rock. Mm-hmm. He's not going to be The Rock. He's never going to be The Rock. If you look at the Usos are and have been what they are now, personally in the ring for the last umpteen years,
which is hood AF.
Yes, the only difference between the Usos now and 5 years ago is that they had bad costumes. Mm-hmm. Now the Usos are themselves 100%, but look how long it took them to get there. Roman Reigns needs to, you go ahead and keep that logo thing that you got because that's what's selling merchandise. Cool. Keep the vest. Cool. But when he gets in the ring to wrestle, snatch that sucker off, man, and just wrestle. Mm-hmm. Take off those things. The one thing I can tell you is that one of the guys that could sell more merchandise is Samoa Joe. But Samoa Joe's been wearing that stupid costume for his entire career. There is not one person that says you need a wardrobe upgrade. So the same thing with Roman Reigns. Should he or should he not wear the military gear? If you ask me, no, it should transition.
Yeah.
If you look at Seth Rollins, they're shoving the babyface thing down our throat with him. He needs to just be the heel that he was and continue to be that.
Preach.
The Shield was successful because they were heels and they didn't care. Shield can be successful, face, heel, in between, whatever you want them to be, but let the fans turn them. Daniel Bryan got turned by the fans. Mm-hmm. Everybody that is successful gets turned by the fans. Plain and simple.
Yes, truer words could not have been spoken, my man. Hey, so Go for Nolan from Facebook asked, he's curious as to what you think the circumstances were surrounding Buffalo Jim's death. He has reasons to feel that there was maybe possibly some foul play involved or that he was possibly even murdered. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
If you Google Buffalo Jim on YouTube, you'll find a video that some guys from Europe interviewed him. It's like about 20 minutes long, and it was really cool. That was probably the only thing that you'll find with Buffalo. I don't know who has the footage from the TV show, but when it comes to, let me carefully say this. Buffalo had Allstate Auto. It was right next to Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse wanted to expand.
The strip club,
Buffalo
right?
Wanted to expand. And people had issues with Buffalo. And now Buffalo's gone. Is there something behind all of that? Yeah, there is. Will I say anything else about it? Hell no, man.
Right.
I'm not trying to get, I don't want nobody coming after me, bro.
Hey.
But I will say that he's missed. I love Buffalo. I was just looking at some pictures and everything of me and Buffalo and the great times we had. He was one of the authentic, original characters that was a staple of Las Vegas. And he gave the people and the fans great moments in wrestling and entertainment for years. And, my prayers go out to his kids.
No doubt.
And I just, there'll never be another one like him, man. You can ask The Undertaker, you can ask Bear, Papa Shango, you can ask guys anywhere, and they'll say the exact same thing.
Okay. So now speaking of things which you gave people, he gave you a pretty cool painting that's sitting behind you there. So go ahead and take a time to explain that.
Hey, Buffalo paid homage to a lot of guys in the business, from Hulk Hogan to Papa Shango to The Undertaker, and a lot of big names. I think Sting So he had a guy that was an oil painter, and he had him, and he gave him a place to stay, and the guy would just paint pictures like this. And so Buffalo, good friend that he was, he presented this to me, and I love it, man. It's an awesome piece, and he did a lot of great, awesome pieces and stuff that he presented to, guys like Undertaker, Sting, and people in the business, man. So that's a great piece. It's a good memory of him that I have.
Sir. So for those of you who are from the Bay Area, I want you to get one more look at it. I'm going to stop talking. Shadow, say something.
Who's that?
All right. So that picture there, me and you had this conversation prior. I said, that is you when you used to have your braids and your beard, not Matt Dre, the rapper from the Bay Area. So don't get it twisted, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm not Matt Dre. This is a Shadow. And that's the Shadow back in the day, Shadow. When I still had a full head of hair and some, all this was dark. So yeah, that color's gone now, brother. But yeah. Homage to Buffalo Jim. Buffalo Jim honored me with that oil painting, man. So yeah, beautiful thing.
Right on, man. Hey, so it's been a pleasure talking to you, Shadow, but we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. So I'm going to give you this opportunity now to promote any projects you're working on or any appearances that you have coming up or anything that you're involved in. So without further ado, Shadow Man, the floor is yours.
One last time for now, unless you see me on the big screen somewhere, somehow, and down the line. This is Shadow from Square Circle to talk on professional wrestling. Coming to you live nationwide with the No Gimmicks with my man Todd Smith, saying tune in if you got the guts.
Yes, yes, sir. So now tell them how they can catch you on social media, man, on Facebook and Twitter and all that good stuff.
Sure. Hey, if you're ever looking for the Shadow and people wonder where the Shadow is and what happened to the Shadow, you can always go to realmarks.com, or should I just say, just Google Real Marks. That's REELMARKS. We got a lot of things going on. We got shows, pilots, TV, movies, screenplays, all these other different random various things and stuff. You can always go to the Shadow's YouTube page at Real Marks. Look up Real Marks, REELMARKS, and you can find the Shadow. We've got clips, shoot shots from old shows and old themes and some footage from the radio show itself. And matter of fact, I think at the intro, you can get a little glimpse of the Shadow Wrestling, last wrestling match, where the Irish Assassin threw me out of the ring in a battle royal and into the second row. So I went over into the second row. And that was my last wrestling match in 1996. My son at the time was 5 years old, and he saw me go over him and into the second row. Thanks, Irish Assassin. Appreciate it. Yeah, great job, bro. Great worker. But yeah, Real Marks, that's how you find me. That's where you see me. And that's where you see what I'm doing next. I got things planned. Yeah.
Right on, man. Hey, so let me share this little note real quick. So I was a young guy, probably in my teens. I remember I was kind of like still not really sure how pro wrestling worked and whatnot. And I remember one time, I think I saw a clip of one of your matches. And I remember leaving a voicemail for you. And I told you what I thought about the match. And it wasn't exactly the most positive feedback. Now, let me say something positive about this man, James Shadoweman Boone. He could have called me up and cursed me out for what I said, but he did not do that. He was very patient with me, and he explained to me how the professional wrestling business works, the importance of work ethic, the importance of taking those bumps, and that it wasn't all about wins and losses. Do you remember that conversation, Shadow?
Yeah, I believe so, man.
Yeah. And I really appreciate you for that because, like I said, you almost kind of became kind of a big brother figure and a mentor to me, not only just in professional wrestling, but kind of what we're doing here with the No Gimmicks Podcast. You truly were an inspiration for us to start what we have going on here. And we're almost 2 years into this project now. And not only that, but I had kind of stopped watching professional wrestling for a little bit after WrestleMania 6. And then I want to say I came back right around about 95 or so, ironically, around the time when you started doing Squared Circle. And some of your callers who would call into the show and talk about ECW and stuff like that, I started checking out ECW again, and that's what got me thrusted back into the world of professional wrestling and watching those shows on a weekly basis. So there's a good chance that I would not be sitting here hosting this show right now if it wasn't for this man, James Shadoweman Boone. So thank you very much for joining us this week on I was about to say square circle, my man. Thank you for joining us on the No Gimmicks Podcast. It truly has been a pleasure, brother.
Hey, and let me just say this real quick, man. I appreciate being here. I appreciate taking the time and the impact that I had on your life. And you're not the first that I've had this experience, and it's great. It feels good, man. And I'm glad to see that you're doing well and you're successful at what you're doing, brother. So keep up the good work. And speaking of the wrestling thing and the theme of wrestling, I want to come back and say one thing. Roman Reigns is one of the best workers in the WWE. Roman Reigns does deserve what he has and where he's at now. Roman Reigns, people should look at differently and appreciate what he does in the ring. When he can talk as good as his cousin, then everybody will love him to death. But once you start appreciating what this guy does in the ring every week, then you'll have appreciation for him. Plain and simple, brother. But hey, man, it's been great. It's been a pleasure, man.
Hey.
Oh, and as far as the Royal Rumble goes, let me give you my prediction.
Okay, go for it.
For Monday night on the WWE's 25th anniversary, I predict CM Punk may make an appearance. For the Royal Rumble, I predict possibly Hulk Hogan may make an appearance. No, let me take that back.
No.
For the Royal Rumble and who might win the Royal Rumble, I would give it to someone who has not won. I would give it to someone who will face the SmackDown champion.
Mm-hmm.
Raw's going to build their WrestleMania match. They can do it on their own. It's a bigger show. SmackDown should and needs to have a winner to face their champion.
Agreed.
Plain and simple, brother.
Hey, I wanted to see Nakamura do it, man.
Nah, it needs work.
I wanted to see him versus AJ in a rematch from Wrestle Kingdom from a couple of years ago. That's what I wanted to see.
He's a good worker, but you need somebody that's ready to take things to the next level. On mic and in ring. In ring, he's great. On mic, he needs a manager.
Not gonna argue with you on that, Shadow. Hey, so one thing is for sure. Hey, this is the time of the show I usually say this because we have been going on long just about here. Hey, I wish I could sit here and talk to my man James Shadoweman Boone for the rest of the night, but hey, we have come to the end of this episode of the No Gimmicks Podcast, so thank you for tuning in for this interview with James Shadoweman Boone. We are No Gimmicks, No Image, all wrestling all the time. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share our videos. Peace out, Shadoweman. One love.
Peace, brother. Thanks a lot, man.
No gimmicks. Yeah. No gimmicks, taking over, no limits. Motivation, the truth inside everything you are hearing. Important live, know you feel it. Wrestling is everything that we will know with special meaning.